What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream on this beautiful Friday. At least it's Friday for me. I know for some of you it's Saturday morning, I think. But make sure you guys pay your bar tabs on your way in or on your way out of the building today. That includes liking this video and hitting that subscribe button if you have not already. I know there's some of you that watch my videos that are not subscribed. Helps drastically. It's free. One click of a button. That's all I ask. Appreciate it. We have a couple things to talk about today. Kaspa, as a whole, actually is down less than... Well, maybe it's not anymore. It was this morning. I think the rest of my portfolio, is still down, 4 or 5%, whereas Kaspa is only down 1.25%. So I guess if you want to find some silver linings here and there, then there's your silver lining. Well, since last time we talked, we've had a potential war breaking out in Iran, which affected the market a little bit. And we also had a pump in, I guess technically the first week, basically, of this month, which is typical. There's always a narrative given to it, but the market usually pumps during this week. And who knows what's going to happen, whether more countries get involved or, that could be a potential that the market takes this next leg down, which, by the way, guys, I'm on the record saying I'm pretty damn sure we're going to see another leg down. That's just my gut feeling, and that's just based on history of past post-bull run years, I guess you could call them. So there's usually 3 legs, and we've only hit 2 of them. So expect a little bit more downside just in case it happens. Doesn't have to happen, but I think there's a good chance that it does happen. So for me, though, I'm just even keel every single day, understanding that markets go up and markets go down. And we're in a downtrend right now. But what happens is at the end of that downtrend, which I'm assuming is going to last the majority of this year, then uptrends will start again. And so I'm just waiting patiently. Because what else am I going to do? What else are you guys going to do? Selling right now would be the worst thing you could possibly do. Because what if we don't get that third leg down? What if we start rallying at the end of this year? Anything could happen. So, viewership is obviously down. It's down across the board, though, even on big YouTube channels. So it seems like every week we have less and less people in here. But that's perfectly fine because it does not matter to me. And I'm going to continue to do this every single Friday. And I'm going to continue to make pre-recorded videos whenever I can during the week. I know the last couple of weeks I have not. It's been extremely busy in my household. Last stream was dedicated to Orion, our dog, who passed away the following week. And then this week, work outside in my plumbing business has been crazy busy. So I've been out of the house a lot and haven't had time to get to my computer and record. And I don't get paid to do this, so I can't... I guess I can't dedicate time to it over, working out in the field doing plumbing, because that gives me immediate income, right? And I need to pay my bills. So maybe eventually this will create an income for me. I don't know. Not worried about it. I do it for fun. It would be kind of cool eventually, though, to be, to have this be my full-time job. That way I could stream every single day and make videos probably, because I'll just have time on my hands. But Wyatt I see you. Alpha Matt, thanks for coming in. The main thing I want to talk about today, though, is proof of work cryptos and the narrative that I've been seeing out there that they just don't pump. And I want to crush that narrative. Obviously, we know Kaspa is proof of work. And over the existence of the crypto market, proof of work cryptos have done very well. And they always have their time to shine every single cycle. I mean, just look at Zcash this last cycle, right? All of proof of work did not pump, but majority of altcoins didn't pump either. We just didn't have an altcoin season. So Zcash was going to be that outlier anyways. If we had an altcoin season, other altcoins would have caught up at some point, but that didn't happen. So I want to show you guys something that I looked up and just kind of give you an idea of over time what proof of work projects are out there and what kind of gains they've made in medium-term time frames and short-term time frames, and then some long-term time frames, because all of that is important. Most people are worried about short-term gains, obviously, but if you can just hold something for 5 or 6 years, you're usually going to be doing pretty well at some point. And this right here, let me pull it up so you guys can see it. If I can get my internet turned on. Why did that change on me? Okay. I had this all set up right. And then it completely changed up on me. So, okay. Let me move myself too. Let me get myself out of the screen so you guys can actually see this. Okay. Even AI, Google's AI, tells you plain and simply right here that proof of work cryptocurrencies have historically seen some of the most massive price pumps in crypto history. While Bitcoin obviously is proof of work, remains the all-time leader in cumulative gains. Smaller proof of work coins like Dogecoin and Kaspa, is mentioned in here, have delivered higher short-term percentage surges, right? Because Kaspa hasn't been around nearly as long as Bitcoin has. But if you take a look at Bitcoin, obviously, recording an estimated almost 63 billion% gain from its earliest recorded price in 2010 to its 2021 peak. It has consistently set new records, recently surpassing 100,000 in 2025. Okay, Bitcoin's not really what I want to talk about today because it obviously is what it is and we know what it is. But some of the smaller coins are the ones I want to talk about because of some of their massive price action. And some of them, even though they don't do literally anything, still get pumps every single cycle, right? Because one of the biggest narratives, as you guys know, out there is Kaspa doesn't do anything. It's boring. It doesn't do anything. It's never going to, gain adoption. But how much adoption does something like Dogecoin have? And what does it do? How much adoption does something like Litecoin have? And what does it do besides you're able to send money back and forth, right? It's a fork of Bitcoin, supposed to be more scalable and cheaper, and faster as far as payment processing time. But it really is not all that much faster. It's not all that much more scalable. It is a little bit. And the fees are cheaper, but they're not nearly as cheap as some of the newer projects that are out in the market now. right? So why is Litecoin still continuing to have pumps every cycle? Proof of work coin, right? Zcash. Obviously, some people like privacy, right? But why was Zcash pumping over Monero? Right? What does Zcash do that Monero can't do? Like, why did people choose Zcash? It doesn't have a whole lot of adoption. And it doesn't really do anything except for you buy the crypto and it's private. So you hold it, right? There's literally nothing I don't think you can do on the Zcash network that'll give Zcash any sort of value except for the fact that it's private, right? And that is a viable, value proposition to an extent. But in order for a coin to, stay relevant, especially in a proof of work setting, you need adoption. And I don't know that something like Zcash over a long period of time is going to, hold that adoption and hold that value that people are looking for. And Monero is more popular on top of that. So if people started jumping to Monero, then what is Zcash good for at that point, right? The coin's value could just go down. So I guess my point here is that even proof of work coins that literally have no ecosystem around the project at all aren't even that cheap, aren't even that scalable, and the fees aren't even that cheap, still continuously pump every single cycle. Litecoin, for instance. Okay? So if we move down to this next coin here, Dogecoin, right? It's the top dog as far as memes go. It's been around. Obviously, Elon Musk tweets about it, which might be the real reason why it's still hanging around. Considered the people's coin, right? Famous for its massive community-driven pump. So it has a community. It surged from 0.003 in 2017 all the way to all-time high of 69 cents in 2021. Roughly a 23,000% increase. And remember, if you bought it below or before 2017, this percentage is even higher because it was around before 2017. You're probably getting closer to like a what would this is like a 200x. So you could have made even more off of that, right? 23,000 would be a 200x, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or that might even be more than a 200x. Don't quote me on that. I'm terrible at math, especially in real time. My brain just goes blank. So Dogecoin again, right? It has some community. It obviously had Elon Musk, but it doesn't do anything. People literally just have to hold on to the coin. And it has to remain relevant in that regard only. Proof of work, people still mine it. But again, it doesn't do much of anything. It's just been around long enough now where people know what it is and hold it because it's a meme coin, and it did, 23,000% in the cycle before last. So it was known for that. I remember there was a guy who, was getting interviewed by the media who put like $10 in to Dogecoin and became a millionaire or something like that, or $100 to become a millionaire. But he never sold, so he round tripped it back down, and now he's probably break even at this point. So that's the other scenario is when things pump drastically, take profits. That's not what this video is about, but you're going to hear me harp on that a lot. Zcash is next, obviously. Zcash, we all know about Zcash because it was really the only, coin that did a massive pump this last cycle. And this was just 2025. I think it pumped a little bit in 2024 as well. So I think the 700% as a 7x is a little light compared to what it did in total. But it recently emerged as a top performer in late 2025, surging 700% in 5 weeks. So tell me why. What is it about Kaspa that gives people the assumption that a project that was presumed, pretty much dead, as in Zcash, does a 700% in 5 weeks? While Kaspa's building stuff, right? It's going to have an ecosystem. Why can't something similar happen to Kaspa? Why? It's going to have its own privacy layer too, which will, give it that sort of, privacy potential as well. But it just amazes me when people tell you that proof of work cannot pump, but before our own eyes, we literally see it. Plus, history tells us that, even AI says that historically, proof of work has seen some of the biggest pumps in the whole entire crypto market, right? I think next here, Kaspa is listed, right? And in 2024, Kaspa was recognized as the big winner, right? If you guys were here in like 23 and 22 when Kaspa first started pumping, you would see, or you would remember, I guess, that it was by far the best investment for those 2 years. I think in the entire, global market space, not even just crypto, it was just murdering everything else in its way, right? Part of that might have had to do with people started mining it because Ethereum, it strategically, I don't know if this was on purpose or not, launched right when Ethereum went to proof of stake. So you had a ton of miners that were trying to find something else speculative to mine, and maybe that had something to do with it. But either way, Kaspa's DAG-based architecture fueled dramatic growth, which with its market cap reaching over 800 million in early 2026, and it reached way more than 800 million. It was up in the 4 billion mark, I believe, before it went back down to 800 million this year. So that's kind of misleading. But nonetheless, Kaspa has had an initial massive pump, right? And Kaspa's pump from its inception is actually pretty significant. Let me get you the exact numbers real quick. Let me pull it up. So all time, Kaspa is up almost 18,000% from its inception. So, I forgot the screen was up there. Sorry, I know you guys can't see that because I've got everything zoomed in. But it's up a lot. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So everybody who says Kaspa can't pump, well, it already has. We've seen it happen once. So the argument that it's impossible for it to happen again, in my opinion, is just ridiculous. And I believe that when this market turns back around, there's a chance Kaspa actually leads the market into the next bull run. That's still to be seen. I'm just guessing on that. But I think there's a possibility that happens. Kadena, this is a bad example, but it did pump massively, right? 7,000% within a single year. So Kadena was a project that came out with ASIC miners, and they had a team behind. Well, so it's proof of work, but not all proof of works are created equally, because there was a pre-mine and there was a team that held a bunch of tokens. And I know for a fact, based on the way that this project went, the bear market hit, they stopped building, the founder left, went and started another project, and they dumped all their tokens, and it went down to basically zero. When the leader behind the project and the team behind the project decides to go start another project and leave this one while the price is going from here to here, that is a huge red flag. That will tell you right there it was a pump and dump. Okay? That's not happening with Kaspa. Starting this bear market, they are still working. They are still developing, and they are still promising big things on Kaspa, not jumping away from Kaspa and starting a new project. So think about that. That is the biggest difference. Plus, there was no pre-mine, and so our team, our dev team does not hold the vast majority of the tokens either. So, Kadena, although it had major pumps, the whole entire initiative of that project, I believe, was just to get people involved just so the team could dump on the followers. And that's exactly what happened. Revisionist history, that tells me exactly what that project was initially started for. And if it wasn't, it turned into that. Flux is another one. Okay? Another standout performer from the 2021 bull run, finishing up the year with 75,000%. Okay? So, what do all of these have in common, 2021 bull run, besides Kaspa, right? Because it led last bear market. It started in 2020. Well, it was launched in 2021 late, right as the bull run was ending. So it had its bull run in the bear market. It was new, the new shiny toy, right? The new shiny ball that was bouncing around, and everybody was enamored with it. Okay? That happens to a lot of projects early on. But if the project continues to build, the project continues to deliver on its roadmap, and the dev team is dead set on, creating what they set out to create, as well as the project gains adoption, which Kaspa is technically doing, then you're going to have a project that sticks around. And whenever this next bull run is, you can expect these type of gains in a year's time from wherever the price sits before that year starts. Right? So think about that. A 7x in a 1 year span, you're not getting that anywhere else. Although the stock market's kind of started to act a little weird. There's some stocks that seem to be doing that, like even Nvidia. Tesla sometimes goes on these rampages. But all in all, you don't really find gains like this outside of the crypto market. And if we ever do, well, let me say, when we hit this next bull market, right, and we get to the post-halving year, if it doesn't happen sooner, we should get an altcoin season because we didn't get one this last cycle. I fully expect that to right itself, and I think we can expect in the post-halving year, if that's when the altcoin season comes at the end, this amount of gains in a very short amount of time. But that doesn't count for the gains that are going to come in the years prior as well, when we step up, right? So you're looking at a lot of gains, I think, especially from a project that still hasn't experienced a bull market and is still going to be at a fairly low crypto market, considering market cap. And that's Kaspa. So, yeah, so basically this is just, kind of outlining everything. Giants like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. They always, all of these, dinosaur coins that are proof of work always seem to have a run by themselves every single bull market, except for this last one. If you look at all the prior ones, they always have a point where they run. And I expect Kaspa's kind of unique because it has a little bit of, a true layer 1 that's going to have an ecosystem, kind of like Ethereum and Solana and, some of those other ones out there. But it's also proof of work and could have pumps during this proof of work, window when they're all pumping as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So that's kind of what I wanted to go over, just to give you guys an idea. And that's not all of the proof of work coins out there. There's Raven Coin, Monero is actually one as well. But this is just some of the biggest gainers in the 2021 cycle and before, right? So from inception, even some of these gains that we talked about here, like 7,000%, Cadino's inception was right before the bull market, but something like a Dogecoin had been around for a lot longer. So if you had purchased it and held on to it, you're realizing way more than even a 23,000% gain, right? If you were, mentally tough enough to hang on, and not every coin's going to make it. You would have got lucky with Doge, right? But that just shows you a little bit of discipline, knowing what you hold, and there's a little bit of luck involved as well. There always is. You can make a hell of a lot of money in, a 4 to 10 year span. If you just have a plan and you stick to that plan, right? You don't get scared out if everything and the technology and the team and the project is still the same and nothing's changed. They're still building, right? Not to mention its tech is far better than anything else in the space. Kaspa, that is, not Dogecoin, obviously. Dogecoin's just a gimmick, but it is the OG. It is proof of work too, right? Dogecoin's what I actually got into the crypto space for. That was my entry point, was in Dogecoin. I don't own any anymore. I mined it for a little while, and that was it. But Dogecoin isn't the worst coin to hold. It's probably going to stick around and just be there, the OG meme coin, for the foreseeable future. So when anybody asks, or when anybody tries to tell you that proof of work is boring and never pumps, just a very quick internet search will prove to you, or prove to them, I should say, if you wanted to counter-argue that statement, that proof of work over time and via history can be pretty explosive. And we've already seen Kaspa explosive, right? It's not like it launched in 2021, late 2021, and has never pumped. It's had a 17,000% pump since its inception. So it's not like it's never seen any sort of pump and people are like, oh, it's never going to happen. No, it's already happened, right? We just have to wait for the next leg up for altcoins, which might be another 3 or 4 years, unfortunately. I would imagine that we have intermittent pumps and stair-stepping up before that, but you never know how the market's going to work. So I just think that this next cycle is going to be explosive for altcoins because, again, reiterated, we did not have an altcoin season this last cycle, and monetary policy and the headwinds, the macro headwinds, are going to be in favor, right, for a risk on, lower down the risk curve appetite in the markets. And that's where altcoins thrive. So if you guys, I know all of you guys on this stream are still holding on because you guys are the diehards. All of the fly-by-night people who got scared out are gone, which is why every YouTube channel in the crypto space right now is, doing less views. And there's less traffic in general in the crypto space because everyone's bored. And there's a lot of people that probably bought in 2022 waiting for, 2025 in order to sell, and the altcoins never really, did anything. And they're like, F this, I'm out, right? I'm not going to wait another 4 years. This sucks. Think about like a project like Cardano. Think about if you got into Cardano in 2022 and it's literally back at the same levels it was when you got into it in 2022. And its pump this cycle was like, I think it was like no, it wasn't even a 2x, I don't think. So at least the people who got into Kaspa early enough got to see some pretty good X's, right? If you're holding Cardano through this last, bear and bull market, you probably want to blow your brains out right now. Maybe I should cancel that out. I might get kicked off of YouTube for saying that. I'm joking, obviously. But, like, could you imagine buying Cardano at, 15 cents, waiting for it? It went up to like 30 cents, and now it's back down below 15 cents again. And you waited 4 years for all of that. Oh boy, would that suck. Like, for instance, my main projects that I was holding, thank God, that's why I don't hold a lot of old projects, were Solana, but I bought it so cheaply, and I know that the VCs like to pump that project. So I got to at least have some excitement this last bull cycle, right? Because Solana went from $8 back up to like $260. Sui went from 40 cents to $4. Kaspa, I bought at 5 cents and it went up to 20 cents, which was fun, right? But now it's back down below, or I bought at 4 or 5 cents was my biggest purchases. Anyway, I was mining it before that. And then another little coin that I hold is, what is the name of it? Oh man, I can't even think of the name of it. It was Honey token. Honey, because it was the same founders as Helium, but they started another project, and it was basically like Google Maps, right? So you buy a camera, you put it in your car, and you drive around, and they pay you basically for taking photos because they're trying to get their own Google Maps thing. Anyways, so I bought one of those when it first came out, and all bear market, I rode around with that, and they started paying me. And I remember the total was like, maybe $500, $300 to $500 all bear market, right? Because the price would spike a little bit and then it would just go back down, and it was fluctuating between this is my total amount in my portfolio in US dollars was like $300 to $500. But there was one point in time in 2019. No, I'm sorry, not 2019. It was 2023 where it spiked up all the way to $20,000 from $500. And luckily I sold some of it because I should have sold all of it now that I think back. But I thought there was going to be an altcoin season at the end of 2025, and that didn't happen. I thought I was going to get even more gains than that. So that's a lesson learned from me. But even in a bear market, right, usually the second year of the bear market, so in this case, it won't be 2026, it'll be 2027. There's usually some pretty good rallies by some altcoins. So I'm looking at next year for some good altcoin rallies. That being said, they usually come all the way back down before altcoin season at the end of the year, though. But next year should be pretty fun. And we might see Kaspa actually get back towards its all-time high again. So That being said, that was one of my favorite pumps, though, of last year, was $500 to $20,000. But I'm telling you, that's the kind of things that can happen in a very short, like that pump was within like a week. And I should have just sold all of it. Now I'm still holding it, and it's probably $100, worth $100. My camera's died, though, so I don't have any more. I'm just hoping I can get another pump like that out of it and sell it all. But, you know, lesson to myself and lesson to you guys. When you get a pump from a $500 portfolio total in a coin up to $20,000, sell it. Because it'll usually come back down. That's a ridiculous market cap. And it's usually not going to last. So, real life KDK crypto portfolio lessons in real time. Also, let me get rid of this white screen because it's probably blinding you guys now that it's been there the whole entire stream. Also, I think Kaspa is set up for like a 50 to 100x pump from its bottom. And that could even be from like right now. I think we're like floating around a bottom, but I do think we're going to get a leg lower into the 1 cent ranges. We may even have, there's a solid chance too that we get a flash crash back down below 1 cent. And I have some buy orders set down there just in case. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen or not, but if Bitcoin takes another leg down, then altcoins are definitely going to take a leg down. So just keep that in mind, which is why I tell everybody, have your, plan for all occasions, right? Have your limit order set at pretty low prices that you think the coin could possibly go to. And if they don't hit, they don't hit, right? But if they do, you're going to be, accumulating a ton of Kaspa or any project that you want to, accumulate for that matter. But make sure you're DCAing as well, because I think we're like in a bottom range, right? Potentially. And if we don't get that next leg down and we do start pumping, then you're okay with the amount of crypto and Kaspa that you have. Which is where I'm at right now. If we went to the moon right now, I'd be happy as hell. If we go back down to 1 cent or a half a cent, so I can, add a massive amount of Kaspa to my bag before we go back up, I'm also happy. In fact, I'm more happy in that second equation because I will be even more rich on the other end of it. So, I was going to look at some charts of specific proof of work projects on TradingView, but I think we're going to skip that because it'll probably bore everybody, and no one cares about Zcash, and no one cares about Dogecoin. No one cares about Litecoin in this chat. Obviously, in other channels, people probably love that stuff. Probably... Actually, I don't even know. I don't even know which three, Zcash, Dogecoin, or Litecoin are you guys most interested in if you had to choose one of the three? As part of your portfolio. Yo, KDK, hope things are well. Things are awesome. They're always awesome for me, though. I'm just laid back. What can I say? I roll with the punches. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. One of the things I do know, though, is eventually altcoins will rally again. And I'm just waiting for that time. And I'm being patient in the meantime. Nothing, literally absolutely nothing is going to sell me out of the market. Because I've pretty much seen everything. Even if we have World War III, that's not going to make me sell my crypto. That's going to make me buy more crypto because the prices will probably drop. And at the end of the potential war, we're going to have another bull market at some point, right? That'll probably be the excuse to start printing again. So when that gets resolved, then we're off to the races. Right? And I don't mean to make light of that, but I mean that's just a real life scenario of what would probably happen. There's usually a catalyst that gives us that last leg down into prices where it scares the hell out of a lot of people. And, you know, the people who accumulate in that range are the ones that make a hell of a lot of money on the other end. Also, Wyatt, I hope you're doing good too. I forgot to ask you that back. Yeah, Australia's 11 a.m. Hope you're doing good, man. Crypto Matt here. Stay strong, Cass. Crypto Matt. Is that, hold on a second. No, that's not who I'm thinking of. Okay. But yeah, stay strong. The strong will succeed. The patient will succeed. Kaspa holders aren't gone. We're just depressed and hibernating. There's nothing wrong with just taking your mind off of it and you know, hibernating during the bear market. I would just set, if you can, obviously, set a DCA and forget about it for a while if you're depressed and hibernating. Unfortunately, I am never hibernating from the crypto market because I create videos on YouTube about the crypto market. And so no matter what the conditions are, I'm here. It's kind of exhausting sometimes, to be honest with you. Debia, you're back. I think last stream was your first stream, right? Yeah, glad to be here once again. I'm glad to have you back. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the family. This is actually a good point. The more time that goes on, new cryptos come. It takes away from Kaspa adoption. Canton, Modog, Kita. Yeah, but you got to think too. So you're technically right? There is going to be a new crop of cryptos that spring up over the next year or two, right? And Kaspa technically could come out of the spotlight a little bit because it has had its first initial pump, right? It never really experienced a bull market, which is why I'm still intrigued. But it kind of had its own little bull market in the bear market last time around. But that is the case. Typically, every cycle is you want to invest in new projects, okay? Now, you can hold old projects. So I want to use Solana again as an example of this because it's been around a couple cycles, and I had held Solana through its second cycle, and it went from $8 to $260. So there's precedent for, second cycle or third cycle coins to pump as well. What I would recommend to everybody is to take your portfolio down to, and this does not include Bitcoin, by the way. That can be in a tier of its own. I would take your portfolio down to like 2 or 3 coins that you may want to hold from last cycle at the most. The only caveat here is we didn't have an altcoin season, so there's where the dilemma lies. Because usually when you have a blow off top, a lot of those coins just die out and they never come back. But nothing really had a blow off top this last cycle. So it leads me into thinking, like, does next cycle, even with some new coins that come out, lend itself to the 2025 cycle coins that were supposed to have their first alt season and blow off top that just didn't? Like, are those just going to follow suit next cycle? Or do some of them die off because they don't want to go through a whole nother bear market? That's where the dilemma lies. But what I can say that I am going to do sure-handedly is I'm holding 3 coins besides Bitcoin right now. And the honey token that I talked about. But that's just speculative. I mined it. I didn't purchase any of it. I already sold some. I'm going to hope to get that massive pump again, whether it be next year or in 2029. I'm holding Solana, I'm holding Kaspa, and I'm holding Sui. Those 3 projects, right, on top of Bitcoin, are the 3 that I'm probably going to hold into next cycle from this last cycle. But everything new that I buy, once new coins start coming out, I'm going to speculate on some of those new shiny toys, because those are usually, they have no baggage, right? And so the sky's the limit, plus their market caps are super low, a lot of them when they come out. So I'm going to speculate on some of those as well. But the ones that you mentioned here, TP, Canton, Monad, Kita, those are all last cycle coins technically too, right? They were all here before the end of 2025. So I would argue that those, although they are a little bit newer, they're still technically last cycle coins. And the reason I say that is because if we did have a blow off top in 2025, those coins would have been in that cycle, right? Their market caps would have exploded with the rest of the market. So there's the new shiny objects that are going to come out, the new tokens, they're not even out yet. We'll probably see them towards the end of this year or early into next year, middle of next year, where we've got some new projects that start to launch that might look enticing for gains, right? Maybe not long-term holds, but who the hell doesn't like to make money on top of everything else, right? Kaspa's still going to be my biggest bag that I hold, but there's nothing wrong with speculating with some money on new projects that have no baggage, that are brand new, that have a low market cap and that could potentially do crazy gains. So I will be entering that market as well. But all in all, this is a very good point, and I agree with a lot of it. I think Kaspa's just different though. So although it may not be the new shiny toy anymore, it will have some sort of, if it continues and it goes back to its all-time highs like next year or the year after, it's going to have some respect in the market because it hung around and, it lasted through its its first real bear market, right? After it's been around it. The first bear market's always a gimme, especially when it launches in a bear market. But I think Kaspa is so much different than a lot of coins. It has that edge to it that I think is going to allow it to stick around. And, think about this. Like, we don't need Kaspa to go to $10. If you're buying enough Kaspa at 3 cents and it just goes back up to 20, its all-time high, you still made good money, right? That's like a 6x. So just think about that. And I think that there's a better chance that it goes higher in the next cycle than its previous all-time high of 20 cents. But if you just look at it from that perspective, even if it went to 10 cents, half of what its previous all-time high was, that's what, a 9x? 10x? right? Anyways, you get my point. It doesn't have to go all the way to $10 and make billionaires out of us to where we can live comfortably. At this point, if you're accumulating enough at 3 cents, just think about how happy you're going to be when it gets back to 20 cents. Your bag is going to grow substantially, right, in US dollars or whatever currency you're in. So that's the thing. Like everybody wants like a $1 or a $2 or a $10 Kaspa. And I think $1 is pretty attainable personally, but it doesn't have to do that. In order for us who are accumulating at 3 cents or even below, because I think we're going to have another leg down, think about if it goes down to 1 cent again and it stays there for a couple months before we finally start going back up again with the rest of the market. That's a 20x just to get back to all-time highs. That is one hell of a good gain. Even if that's all it did for the rest of the cycle, right? You're still getting a 20x. And you don't get that in any other market. So, I think sometimes we get too excited about huge numbers and don't think about the scenario of what if it just went back to its all-time high? Would that be the worst thing in the world as far as our, margins if you're buying at a low enough price? If we have an altcoin season, though, and everything else is going sky high and Kaspa tops at 20 cents, then I don't know if that's a great outlook for the rest of its life, necessarily, when everything else is just burning past it and it's staying stagnant. But, I don't think that's going to happen, and that's just playing devil's advocate there. But that's still a 20x from a 1 cent Kaspa, and it's still very good gains from a 3 cent Kaspa. So, just think positively and don't overconsume yourself with massive price predictions. Every time Kaspa devs come out with a new development, other crypto teams reverse engineer it and code it into their chain. Yeah, but it never does. I don't know if you're I don't know what change you're talking about necessarily, but no other chain, any other chain that's tried Kaspa's block DAG technology has rug pulled basically, because they tried too much too fast and the coin went to zero. If you're talking about like staples in the space like a Cardano or an Ethereum or something like that, like those, even if they have reverse engineered something, you don't see it. It doesn't show up in the statistics because they're both still, Cardano's not slow, but it's kind of centralized. Like nothing really works out for the other projects that are doing it. What was maybe you guys can help me remember. There was a coin that claimed that it copy and pasted basically the tech from Kaspa, and it had a pump at first. It was proof of work, and everybody was all worried about it because it went to like 100 BPS or something, like right out the gate, and then it basically sunk real quick after that because it wasn't ready for it, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the name of the coin, but there was like a huge controversy over it a couple years back. Yeah, partly agree with you, but like like they can. It's decentralized and everything's open sourced, right? Which is kind of why we like Kaspa. It's hard to say because like they can announce things that they're doing and they have the best of the best working on it. So like other projects can try and do things, but it so far has not worked out for them, and I don't imagine it's going to in the near future. Win Kaspa $1. Word on the street. Talk to my insiders. Be ready tomorrow. Be ready tomorrow. Kaspa's going to hit $1. That's what I'm being told. As time goes on, it'll be harder and harder for Kaspa. I think it'll be easier and easier for Kaspa adoption. And TP, you got to remember too, it's not only from this point forward, it's not only humans that you need adoption from. AI agents are projected to be the next 1 billion users on the crypto space, right? Doing what they do behind the scenes for all these people who are using them. And there's no project out there right now that can handle. I think it was like a. Once Kaspa reaches 100 BPS, it might be able. I don't even think even then it might be able to handle what was expected. But it was like 1 billion transactions a second or something these agents are going to need. I know Solana can't handle that, right? They're gonna try it on blockchains, but what happens when the agents themselves are told to go find a blockchain or a block DAG or whatever they're going to run, their programs on? They're going to be able to find themselves what works best for them. And what if that leads them to Kaspa because that's the only chain that can handle flawlessly what they need to do, right? So all we think about right now is like human adoption, which I think is actually going to be easier in the future anyways. But what about the AI agents who are going to naturally, flip through all these blockchains and understand what each of them does and how fast and scalable they are, and they land on Kaspa to work on just because of that, right? And then every transaction that they do on the chain will pay the miners, right? And if they need, I want to say it was 1 billion. I can't remember, so don't quote me on that number. But let's say they're doing 1 billion transactions a second. Let's say they're doing 1 million transactions a second, right? And you've got hundreds or thousands of agents working on top doing all of that for all these people in the technology space, or helping them with whatever business they have out in the real world. All of those transactions, if you're doing that many a second, just keep adding up and adding up and adding up the transaction fees that get paid back to the miners. So I think we need to start thinking about not only human adoption, but AI agent adoption and AI adoption. And right now, I don't think that there's any other chain, although I'm not delusional enough to think that there can never be another chain like Kaspa that can handle and are doing what Kaspa does. But I don't know that I see that in the immediate future. It seems like it's going to take a little bit for that to come along, if anything does. Mila, I appreciate you coming back, Mila. Happy to see you, KDK, every Friday like clockwork. You are awesome. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it. Rain or shine, happy or depressed, I am here every Friday. My biggest hope is for CAS being eventually adopted by global energy production, payments, companies, banks, KII promotions. See, that's another one that skipped my mind, even though that's the thing besides AI agents, the KII is the thing I'm most intrigued in out of anything right now, because what they're doing is pretty amazing. And they already have rails set up that finalize in Kaspa. And the banks and the other companies that they interact with, the 30 biggest energy companies in the world, by the way, they don't have to use a different system. They're using the exact same system they're used to using. So it's basically Web 2, right? Something that they're used to already. They make the payments just like they're supposed to and have always done for years. And they have a transition layer inside of the finalization that flips it onto the blockchain, onto Kaspa's block DAG, finalize the payment, boom, miner gets paid. And so that is in the works right now as well. So thank you for bringing that up, Mila. That's one of the most intriguing things to me as far as human adoption and use. Java. What's up, my man? Thanks for coming back and hanging out. Yeah, don't say that. Don't say what? That Kaspa's going to be $1 tomorrow? If you guys don't understand that that's a joke, then that's your own problems. I'm not even sure that's what you're even talking about here, though. Hey, Daddy. Ooh, man. Maybe I should change my name if... I'm assuming you're a guy, right? Because I think I only... Although, my female audience went from 2% to 4% over the last year. So, there's a chance maybe you are a female, and that would be fine. Kind of weird when a dude calls someone else daddy, but... I guess I'm asking for that based on my handle name, right? Just became a shark this past week. My goal for 2026 is 2 million CAS. Just keep stacking. That is amazing. Excellent, excellent job, dude. That is one very solid bag of Kaspa. So just think about if Kaspa does get to $1, which I think is attainable by tomorrow, right? Just kidding. You're already a millionaire. CCP is congratulating you as well. See, there's no hate in here. Everyone's congratulating everyone else because we're all rowing a boat in the same direction. Except for Infamous. And Infamous's cousin, who I don't see here today either. I can't remember his name. I apologize. Kaspa Yeep? I passed my tummy hurting stage. Still got it. I don't know if I understand at all what that means, but I'm glad you still have it, if that means you still have your Kaspa. Man from Bogota, welcome back, dude. Hey, Kat, what price would you start selling Kaspa? Do you have any targets? For example, if it reaches a 50x to 100x, I know it's hard to tell right now, but I'm just curious. I don't necessarily have any price targets per se, because waiting for price targets is not necessarily the right way to do it. And I'm almost contradicting myself by saying this because, you know, the time of, you know, where we are in the market cycle is usually a better indicator of when you should start selling regardless of the price. But we didn't get an altcoin season last cycle, so me saying that is a little bit like, well, I held everything this time around, or mostly everything, because, you know, we didn't get an alt season that we were expecting. So I would say, like, once you start getting into, like, for everybody it's going to be different, right? But once you start getting into, like, the 5 or 10x range, especially if we're, like, you know, entering a year that's historically been a year that we should have a blow off top, I would say you should start, like, layering out a certain percentage. You could do it at a lower amount of X's too if you wanted to be safe. But expecting and waiting for a 50 to 100x is pretty risky because not a lot of coins actually do that. I know it you know, if you look at the perception of the crypto market, like, you have to get in at the right time in order to usually hit a 50 or 100x. And the right time, I mean, like, early, before it's ever pumped. I do think there's a scenario where Kaspa could do something like that, especially if it went back down to 1 cent. You know, 100x would be $1, right? Yeah. I think 100x would be $1 at 1 cent. So, like, that is doable. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, we may top out, like, next cycle if we have another weak altcoin season, which I don't think is going to be the case next cycle, or technically this cycle that we're in, that just started. But, you know, I mean, we might barely make a new all-time high for all I know. I don't know. You know, what if we topped out at 25 or 30 cents next cycle? I mean, anytime you make a new all-time high, though, you're at least doing something right. It's hard to tell. Like, what I can say, if I'm heavy buying at 3 cents and we're, you know, there's a chance I might sell some if we get up to, you know, 30, 40 cents. Maybe I start layering out a little bit. I don't know. It's really hard to say because it would be, I have to accumulate and make a plan for this next cycle, which I haven't done yet because we're, like, barely started. Oh, no other. That's Infamous's. He's in the house. That was Infamous's cousin. See, he's on the train. Kaspa will never pump again. Give it up. Is that you in that photo, by the way? Look like you're from the Jersey Shore. "10:46 p.m. in Brazil." Hey, Kaspa Debia, are you following me on? If you live in Brazil, are you following me on X by any chance? Can you private message me? I need somebody from Brazil, potentially. I need Kaspa at $10. Probably not going to happen anytime soon. I would be shocked if it went to $10 in a blow off top this coming up next cycle too. But hey, you never know. Market caps get absolutely ridiculous sometimes. I pray it's the next Bitcoin. It has a chance. I don't think it's going to be like the next Bitcoin, but it's going to complement Bitcoin. And it's a hedge for Bitcoin, right? Because it's the closest thing you can possibly get to it in a lot of different ways, but it's scalable. A lot of people are using it as a hedge, Kaspa that is, just in case Bitcoin doesn't solve its fee structure. Because Lightning is potentially going to ruin Bitcoin, like long term. Not for sure, but there's a possibility that something bad happens in like a 10-year window. And by something bad, I just mean the fees are going to get too high, and then all of your transactions are on Lightning, which doesn't pay the miners, and potential security starts dropping off. Miners start dropping off. Unless the price, I can't remember the exact numbers, but the price needs to be pretty astronomical in the next 10 years in order for the miners to stay happy with, mining fractions and fractions of a Bitcoin. Yeah, there was a block DAG coin. I don't think that was the coin, though. It was called... I would know it if I heard it, but I can't remember. It's done and gone and died at this point already. It lasted like 6 months, maybe. Was listening while playing some games, but yes, what you said is very obvious. If you buy CAS at 1 cent and it goes back to 10 cents, it's already up 10x and 20x of E20. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. But yeah, the point I'm trying to bring across is you don't, except for, who was it? Except for CCP, who needs a $10 Kaspa. If you're buying enough at these levels, then literally just getting back to all-time highs is actually fairly good gains, right? And I think Kaspa is going to be a coin that surpasses its all-time high. I can't promise anybody that because I can't predict the future, but to me, it has all the characteristics of a coin that's going to stick around and surpass its all-time high this next cycle. So, time will tell, and it's still to be seen. Yeah, that's great gains already. People shouldn't focus too much on 50 cents or a dollar or even $10. Yeah, you shouldn't focus on that. You just accumulate at these levels, and even a 10 or 20x. And I don't. It's crazy because I don't foresee Kaspa not surpassing its previous all-time high of 20 cents. So if you're buying at 3 cents, that's pretty good gains moving into the next few years. But I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't surpass its all-time high, and that would worry me a little bit, price action-wise. But, we'll worry about that if and when the time comes. As of right now, there's no reason to panic because the dev team is still doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and we've got a bunch of things right around the corner that's going to set a new standard for the whole entire crypto market. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is more realistic, CCP. $1 is far more realistic. But that's if we have like a major altcoin season. I think that we can, top out somewhere in that range. Which, again, I've told you guys, I think, and this is just my thoughts, right? This is my assumption and my guess. I don't know anybody who has a definitive answer to this, but all signs just seem to be pointing to a much better environment for altcoins this next cycle. Debia just hit the Dolphin milestone. I'm hyped to be part of this fast-growing community. Kaspa's Ghost Tag protocol is changing the game with its blazing fast transactions. Absolutely. Congratulations on Dolphin status. That's a solid amount. CCP is going to go cry himself to sleep now. I appreciate you for coming in and hanging out and talking to us. I hope you're not actually going to cry yourself to sleep, but sleep good, regardless. Perfect. Yeah, just DM me if you can. None other. You didn't answer my question. I asked if that's your real photo. I think I seen you on TV on the Jersey Shore. All right, gents, I'm a tad late. That's all right. Better late than never, they say, SOJ Ministries. That being said, though, I actually have to go out and check on / hopefully fix one of my neighbor's water heaters tonight because they have no hot water. And so I've got to take off now, actually. Lost track of time. It's been an hour and a half anyway, so I appreciate everybody for coming in, hanging out. Obviously, you guys know that I love every single one of you. Pay your bar tabs on the way out. Like the video. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And I will see you guys next week. I'm going to try and get some videos in. I say this every week. Some weeks I do. Some weeks I don't. To get some videos in pre-recorded during the week. Pay your bar tabs on your way out. And I will see you guys in the next video. But before I go, make sure you continue to pack your damn bags before it's too late. Peace out.